everyone, and welcome to the Fiscal Information section of the Spring Workshops. My name is Shua Vang, and I'm the Financial Manager within the Office of Educational Support's Financial Unit, located within the Michigan Department of Education. Today's agenda is as follows. We will go through the allocations posting timelines. We'll walk through allocation calculation methods. We'll go through available waivers. Then we'll go into the fiscal monitoring review process, talk through some common fiscal monitoring findings. Then we'll open up for questions, and then I will give you my contact information should you have any questions regarding this presentation. The first section is the allocations posting timelines. These are given to districts or PSAs in chunks, 3 chunks. Summer allocations, estimated allocations, and final allocations. Summer allocations were posted in March of 2022, and those were for Title I, Part C, Summer Migrant Education. Estimated allocations are posted in May of 2022. The biggest posting being that of Title I Part A, which is only the hold harmless amounts. These are the hold harmless percentages which are based on your poverty percentage and then applied to your prior year allocation for Title I Part A. Also posted during this time is Title I Part C regular year, Title I Part D, Title II Part A, Title III Part A, English language acquisition, Title III Part A, English language acquisition immigrant, Title IV Part A, Title IX Part A. Final allocations are then posted in October of 2023. Title I Part A is posted, Title I Part C regular year, Title I Part D, Title II Part A, Title III Part A, English language acquisition, Title III Part A, English language acquisition immigrant, Title IV Part A, and then newly posted is Title V Part B, Subpart 2, Rural and Low Income Schools. And then finally, the final posting is Title IX Part A. Next is that we are going to go over the allocation calculation methods. Please keep in mind that these are very, very high-level allocation calculations descriptions. Title I Part A is based on the census poverty count for LEAs and free lunch counts for PSAs. Title I Part C is migrant, and it is proportion based on district's count of migrant students. Title I Part D is proportion based on district's neglected or delinquent student counts. Title II Part A, 80% of which is the award based on district's Title I Part A poverty count, and 20% of the award based on current enrollment. Title III Part A is the proportion based on district's English language learner and immigrant student counts. Title IV-A is a proportion based on district's prior year Title I Part A award. Title V-B is a proportion based on the count of students living in rural districts. Title VI, which was formerly Title V, REAP. Title IX-C is for homeless or McKinney-Vento, which is the proportion based on district's count of homeless students. Now we move into state allocations. Once again, these are very high-level allocation calculation descriptions. Section 31A is a proportion based on district's economically disadvantaged count in the fall collection of the prior year. So for school year 22-23, it's going to be based on the fall count of fall of 2022. Sorry, I had to think about that. Section 41 is the proportion based on English learner student scores on the prior year reading test. So both are based on prior year scores and prior year counts. Now we'll move on to available waivers and forms. The first one being Title I Part A, the 50% carryover waiver. Then we'll move on to the request to relinquish federal funds form. The first available waiver is for Title I Part A 15% carryover waiver. The allowability is that every district is only allowed one waiver in a 3-year time frame. The exception is the following school years that did not count toward the 3-year limitation due to the coronavirus. The first school year is the school year 2019-20, which carried over into 2021. The next one being school year 2020 to 21, carry over into 2021-22 school year. We'll get into some examples later so that you can understand the ramifications of those waivers. The link down below, or the next bullet point, is to the 50% carryover waiver that is on our website. This waiver form has not yet been updated for the 2021-22 carryover into 2022-23 school year. So here's an example of Title I Part A 50% carryover waiver. The first example you can see is the school year 2018-19, which carried over into 19-20. If a district had taken this waiver, then it's going to be taken and counted toward the 3-year eligibility waiver. Then because the 19-20 school year into 2021 was eligible for US Ed waiver, if the district decided to take the waiver, it will not count toward the 3-year limitation. Next, we go into school year 2020-21, which carries over into 2021-22. If a district had taken the waiver, it will not count toward the 3-year limitation. This means that if the waiver was taken in the first year listed, as well as the second and third year listed, then this would mean that in school year 21-22 carrying over into 2022-23, they would be ineligible. And then the year after that, they would also be ineligible as well because they had taken it in school year 2020-21. It would not be until a district decides to take the 2023-24 waiver into the 24-25 school year that they would be eligible again for a waiver. This next example is example 2. So I won't read through every one of these steps as I did the first example, but I'll pause for a few moments for you all to take a look at the screen here and digest this information. If I don't give you enough time, then feel free to download these slides and think through these examples. Okay, and here's the third example. All right, the next available waiver or form is the request to relinquish federal funds form. It is this form that you must use to present to your board when your district decides to relinquish the federal funds in which you have been awarded. The first step is that you must fill in the LEA PSA ISD name at the top of the form. You must fill in the district code, the current fiscal year of the funds to relinquish. On the left-hand column, we ask that you check off the current year allocation title funds to relinquish. The right-hand column is that we ask you to check off carryover title funds to relinquish. You will automatically receive these funds back as carryover the next school year unless checked to relinquish in the next year as well. So even though you check the left column, if you only check the left column, we will give you that award next year as carryover, unless you also check the right-hand column in which you're telling us that you don't want the funds in the current year or as carryover in the next year. Once again, you must have the district school board permission to relinquish these funds. Again, you must include the district school board action item or agenda to which you brought this to the school board's attention. It must be signed off by the superintendent and signed off by the district school board president. And here is the link to relinquish the federal funds form. Next, we will move on into the fiscal monitoring process. Fiscal monitors review all federal funds dispersed through the consolidated application. The fiscal monitoring team here at the Michigan Department of Education, Office of Educational Supports, consists of myself, the financial manager, Michael Stevens, our senior auditor, Michael Wynn, fiscal monitor, Christy Van Steenberg, fiscal monitor, Bill Anderson, fiscal monitor, Tammy Franks, our departmental analyst, and Amanda Pychek, administrative support. The regulatory hierarchy of a state-administered programs to which we follow when we are doing fiscal monitoring review is first and foremost the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, or ESEA of 1965. Then we also abide by the General Education Provisions Act, or GEPA, and then we follow the Administrator's Handbook on Education Department General Administrative Regulations, also known as EDGAR. And then we also look at 200 CFR Part 200, the Uniform Administrative Requirements, or UG. Our pre-engagement consists of the selection of local education agencies for review. This is when this process begins with a risk assessment. And some factors that we include as part of the risk assessment are as follows: the federal allocations total amount, the last on-site review, whether it be program or fiscal, the number of FER deviations from the prior school year, whether or not your district is a deficit or partnership district, whether or not you've had single audit findings, graduation percentage rates, as well as a few other examples. Another part of the pre-engagement steps is that we determine if the review will be conducted on-site or from a remote location, such as a desk review. We will then notify the LEA that it has been selected for an on-site fiscal review or desk review and determine a mutually agreed upon date for the engagement. The pre-engagement will also consist of a document request form to the LEA or PSA and may include, but not be limited to, samples of general expenditures from the general ledger detail of each title program. We may request a list of title-funded employees. We will request the return of a completed questionnaire. And just so everyone knows, the purpose of a questionnaire is for the fiscal monitor to gain a general understanding of the LEA's internal operations prior to them coming to the review. We may also request an inventory list of title-funded equipment purchases, which should include items costing $100 or more with a useful life of more than 1 year. Dispositions are also to be listed for up to 7 years. The requested documentation should be available when we arrive or begin on the scheduled review date. You may also send these samples to us ahead of time. We will also review the consolidated application, the grant award notification, any final expenditure reports, cash draws, etc. The entrance conference. It is here that we will meet and greet the LEA staff. We will determine the workspace, such as where we will set up and where we can do our computations and document reviews. We will ask you to complete the sign-in sheet for all involved in the review. We will determine the contacts for the engagement. We will determine office locations for staff should we have any questions. We will briefly explain the 9 sections as well as the process for the engagement. The 9 sections being the 9 sections in which we are going to review. Then we will schedule a closing meeting where we will go over all our findings if we have any. And then we will ask the staff if you have any questions. And then we will review the requested additional documentation that LEA may have pulled during the engagement, as well as how to address any outstanding items. Going into details about the engagement, there are 9 sections to our review. The first section being the review of staff. We will verify teacher certifications and paraprofessional eligibility, also known as appropriate placement. We will verify background checks have been performed, verify that time and effort documentation has been completed. Next, we will move on to policies and procedures. It is there that we will verify LEA policies and procedures contain written documentation for each of the following: cash management, allowability of cost, conflicts of interest, procurement, travel reimbursement, equipment management, and time and effort procedures. And I apologize for the very small font there. The next section is cash draws. We will verify cash draws are supported by expenses recorded in the title general ledgers at the time of the draw. Moving on to payroll expenditures, it is there that we will verify staff is paid according to their contracts. Therefore, we will request copies of employee contracts. Verify payroll expenses are charged to the respective program's general ledger in the same way they are pre-approved in the consolidated application. We will verify payroll charges are supported by time and effort documentations. The section number 5, is the budget. It is there that we will compare LEA budget and actual expenses as recorded in the title general ledgers to the consolidated application. Finally, number 6 is final expenditure reports. It is in that area that we compare actual expenses as recorded compare actual expenses as recorded in the title general ledgers to the amounts reported in the final expenditure reports. Section number 7 is general expenditures. It is in this area that we will verify expenditures are made and paid within the approved expenditure period contained in the grant award notification. We will verify expenditures are pre-approved in the consolidated application. We will verify expenditures are classified in the general ledger by function and object code as pre-approved in the consolidated application. We will verify expenditures are supported by vendor invoices, purchase orders, and contracts and are approved by the appropriate and authorized LEA staff. We will verify sign-in sheets and agendas are maintained for title-funded in-house professional development and parent engagement activities. Section number 8 is purchase services or contracted services. We will verify contracts are available for review upon request, verify contracts are signed by all parties, verify contracts detail the services to be performed, verify contracts detail the start and end dates of performance, verify contracts detail the payment amount for performance, and verify the contract details cancellation charges and procedures, as well as date change fees, if any. The final section is equipment. It is here that we will verify the district has title inventory listing, which shows date purchased, description, cost, location, serial number or identification number, funding source, disposition date, and condition. We will verify that the equipment purchases are added to the inventory listing for items that cost $100 or more with a useful life of greater than 1 year. We will visit the schools to verify the equipment on the inventory listing exists and is located where indicated on the listing. Finally, we will move to the exit conference. It is here that we will review all 9 areas included in the Fiscal On-Site Review or Desk Review report and discuss and clarify all tentative findings or open items with you. The district will receive the final report and a compliance plan form to complete within 1 to 3 months after the completion of the review. Next steps is that the district will receive a copy of the fiscal monitoring report and a compliance plan form to complete if exceptions were found. A congratulations letter will be sent if you were found to be compliance complete. Districts need to write on the compliance plan form how it plans to fix the exceptions found during the fiscal monitoring review, if any, and return the form to OES at the following email address for review. The LEA's response period for returning a completed compliance plan form is 30 days after receipt if the review was a full review, and 15 business days if the review was a follow-up. Further next steps is, if there are question costs, once the compliance plan is approved, OES will recapture funds if applicable. The costs will be recaptured through the administrative process through a cash draw reduction on your next draw. The appeal process is as follows. So should an LEA or PSA decide to appeal, there are 2 steps. They will first appeal to the Deputy Superintendent in writing to Dr. Delsa Chapman and send the appeal via email to Tammy Triplett at the following email address. The next step, should the district decide, is to appeal to the Michigan Office of Administrative Hearings and Rules or more. Be sure to include Dr. Paula Y. Daniels, the Director of the Office of Educational Supports, in the courtesy copy of your appeal. Please be aware of additional time spent on hearings, testimonies, and fees should you decide to appeal to more. Our next section, I hope, will be extremely helpful for all districts in understanding common findings and how to remedy them. The first one being that expenditures must be recorded in the general ledger in the same classification that they are approved in the consolidated application, even if the consolidated application classification is not correct. For example, a program license fee is approved in the consolidated app in 221-5000, but the accurate location for a license fee is 221-3000. The district must record the license fee in 221-5000, or they will get a misclassification exception. In this case, the consolidated application is key. So however it was written in the consolidated application is how you must record the expense. In situations where there is an unusual variance from the consolidated application, we would contact the assigned regional consultant for verification on what was approved. Any additional approvals outside of the pre-approval process must be in writing. For example, it must be an email from the regional consultant to the district approving the expenditure or change. Further common fiscal monitoring findings are as follows. The use of object codes that PSAs are required to use for payments to staff is the 3000 object code for purchase services. Several function codes can be used with this 3000 object code for purchase services, such as 125 compensatory education or 212 guidance services. Another note is any failure to submit final expenditures by the due date results in recovery of all title payments by OES. In these cases, districts had to contact OES to reopen the FER when indicated by the consultant or monitor that the funds were recovered by OES. Just want to remind everybody that final expenditures are extremely important, and failure to do so means that the OES automatically collects all of the title payments back. Personal memberships are not allowed to be funded with title funds is yet another tip. Oftentimes we find that time and effort documents do not report the activity and time. They often just report title dollars. We need to know the time and activity to determine the correct funding source and whether or not it is allowable. Overage is over 10% greater than the amounts approved in the application. This could be by function or object code, total, or individual expenditure. Amounts reported in the final expenditure report that do not match the amount recorded in the general ledger. So once again, it's always doing the match between final expenditure report, the general ledger, and the consolidated application. Other common findings is paraprofessionals that do not have qualifications to be appropriately placed for the position funded with federal funds. Be sure that paraprofessionals have the correct qualifications, and if not, that they are properly tested. Other findings are that districts fail to maintain an inventory listing that meets the federal requirements as described previously with all of the different components that were listed. Failure to have purchase service contracts that meet federal requirements, not having proper signatures, not being able to produce contracts upon our ask are common findings. Failure to retain general ledgers which support each individual cash draw. So make sure that you total up all of the details which can be used to support the total that you drew down. Salaries and or benefit amounts that exceed more than 10% of the amounts approved in the consolidated application. Once again, if you know that it's going to go over and above the 10% allowance, be sure to email your consultant and get their approval in writing for that backup documentation. Hotel invoices at checkout are not provided to substantiate hotel charges. Oftentimes we are getting just the reservation form and not the actual receipt when you check out, so be sure that you get the receipt showing that you actually stayed at that hotel during that time. Agenda and sign-in sheets are not provided for title-funded parent activities and in-house training. Be sure that those are completed by all in attendance to support the fact that those parent activities did in fact occur and that everyone there was accounted for. Failure to have documented policies and procedures which cover time and effort, cash management, allowability of cost, conflicts of interest, equipment management, procurement, and travel reimbursement. If any of these processes and procedures are missing, you will be required to produce a document in order to be compliance complete. Next is whether or not you have any questions, and because this is a recording, be sure to take down your questions and be ready to submit them to me via email or give me a call. That being said, here's my contact information. Once again, I am Shua Vang, Financial Manager of the Office of Educational Support's Financial Unit. My email is as follows, and my number is 517-241-5388. It has been a pleasure to share this information with you. I do understand that it is a lot of information in a very short amount of time, but I hope that, between the PowerPoint and me talking through some of these points that you'll be and have a better understanding of allocations, waivers, especially the fiscal monitoring process, which can be a very stressful time, but just know that we are here to support you. We are here to help you figure out what went wrong and how you can fix it. I'm always here. I'm happy to answer questions. I'm happy to get on the phone with you or with a virtual meeting. I just hope, the best for the upcoming school year. And like I said, please reach out if you have any questions. Thank you for your time. Bye.